Hello, everyone. This is Astana Fartlek podcast. Welcome back. This is, I think, 12th episode already. And okay, today we are having our guest. He is a foreigner. He is not local guy. He's from America, Ohio. Yes.
Yeah.
And Greg, the right pronunciation of yours?
Pipmaier is my last name.
Okay, Greg Piepmeier. So Pipmaier is it common American surname?
No, its ancestry is German, but there are very few. There's a few spread in the United States, but not many. It's very uncommon.
So it comes from German, yes?
Yeah, the name origin is German.
And
yeah.
you have some ancestors who is from Germany?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how long ago or anything. It's common in the U.S. for when people are immigrating to the U.S. to kind of try to become full American. So they would often denounce their prior heritage and only know English to try to integrate as cleanly and evenly as possible. So many people lost many of their ancestral traits, unfortunately.
Okay. So Greg is running. How many years you are running since?
I think this would be my 2024. So I guess I've been running for maybe 14 years now.
14 years.
Yeah.
Wow. How old are you?
36.
Okay, you started from 24.
22.
22.
Yeah.
Oh.
I graduated university and then was looking for an avenue of getting to know people as well as being healthy, competition, exercise, all things that I like. So running is kind of what I found. I've been running ever since.
So before graduating of college, you didn't run this?
I mean, periodically, but only in terms of like maybe a warm up. I've been a former athlete, so I was a former rower or crew. Yep.
Wow.
And oftentimes we would use running as like a warm up tactic or a means of cross training, but it was few and far in between. Wasn't our regular regimen by any means. So I realized I was good at it when I was rowing in college, and I decided to give it a shot once I.
So you were a professional rower, yes?
Not professional, but I was a collegiate athlete.
Collegiate.
Yeah.
And why did you choose rowing?
That's a good question. I found it when I was high school years, and the community that it kind of developed, there was a lot of camaraderie. So in rowing, you're in a shell with your teammates, typically either four rowers or 8 rowers. And when you are that close together for an entire practice session or races, you just develop a very tight bond with each other. And I fell in love with it. And then once you graduate college, it becomes a lot more difficult to find those communities. So running kind of was like a natural fit in that sense, because you're often running in packs and kind of working with each other to meet goals.
So it is interesting. When I was studying in UK, there is a very famous rivals between Oxford and Cambridge. You know this?
Yeah.
And at some point I was like at the competition. It was very funny to see how they like compete, and it was like maybe 6 years ago. Yeah. And these rivals like very like from long time ago, and yeah, for me it was like the first time I see the real in reality.
Yeah. Very famous race called the boat race. That's between Oxford and Cambridge.
So, and running was like exercise for you, yes, not the main part of your training, but is it running is fits for you, for your mentality, for your lifestyle? How does it affect you?
So things I enjoy about it is it's almost a very meditative process. It's when you're running, it's very introspective, between the discomfort of running as well as the time to yourself, especially when you're training on your own. As at least in my life, I have inevitably um, done a lot of, because my family moves a lot. Um, so when we move to new places, it becomes very challenging to find these communities. Running is fortunately a very helpful integration point, but it still takes time. I'm not a particularly um, outgoing person, so it takes me a while to develop the comfort to join many of these groups. So I have to become very comfortable with myself, and um, that
So
whole meditative process I just really enjoy, because it helps me work through the challenges of moving. It helps me work through the stressors of just daily life, and then the secondary thing of, I really appreciate the health benefits that it brings as well.
well, because for me it's very like in opposite way, because I hate running from like very university time, because we needed to get these qualifications exams in a college, in university, but it was not like running like my passion. But I need to run and to get some qualification points, and that's all. But running as a main sports, I didn't consider, never. So, and afterwards, like maybe after graduating, I started to run for myself and participating in some Almaty marathon events. But still, I actually it's not so like natural for me, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, because I mean, average people, average human, he trying to preserve the energy, to be lazy, and to get to go from out of comfort zone, to go even in winter time. So it's very tough for me. It's especially because Beirut, he's a co-host of this podcast. He loves to run in winter, even when it's very freezing, -30. He got up very early and like in 6 a.m. and goes outside. So for me, it's like incredible. So and for me, like running mostly about results. I think the results motivates me to be better, to get some time, and to improve my running skills.
Yeah.
So in the process, maybe I love the process, but I'm not so like. For me, it's more about football, maybe, or some interactive sports. But running alone is very challenging for me.
Yeah.
Especially for long run. I hate long run.
Long runs are probably my favorite runs.
Wow.
Because you have 2-3 hours sometimes just to yourself, or maybe hopefully with some good mates to run with.
And how's running in Astana? I mean, in winter time, in summertime, can you?
I have noticed it's very different. So I live near one of the main parks in the city, so I almost exclusively use the park, because the city running is very challenging here. Between there's many traffic lights and many very difficult to find alternative routes that keep kind of that flow state, as we would say, going. So I tend to stay either on the river path or in the parks.
So it's President Park.
President's Park, or sometimes I'll run up the Central Park, or the Botanical Gardens are probably
So which is the favorite?
I use President's Park and Triathlon Park probably the most. As far as my favorite,
for me, it's
anywhere outside the city, honestly, but that's just a little more challenging. I prefer to run on dirt roads or something.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Outside the city?
Yeah.
Wow, how often does it happen?
Not as often as I would like to make it happen. Maybe a couple times a month or something.
Maybe
No, I mean not this time of season, because it's too snowy, but in the summer months.
So you are more about trail running, yes?
For training, yes. I've done a handful of trail races, not many. I've done many more road races. I like them both for different reasons. Trail running, it's very nice because it's you get a lot of scenery, but it's very easy to it gives you a perfect avenue to really push yourself, but push yourself in a different way. Push yourself in distance, trying to stay mentally tuned in to the difference in terrain. Whereas road running is a lot more time based, so you go for your personal bests and attack personal goals very, I guess, very directly.
So you participated in a bunch of competitions in Astana, in Almaty, I think, yes?
I have not competed in Almaty yet. I hope I will be this coming month.
So can you list your favorite competitions, races?
My favorite competition so far has probably been the Burbai Trail race last summer, followed by probably the half marathon in Zrenda. I was not well trained for that race, so I didn't do as well as I liked, but I think the course layout was very nice, and then I think it was a well-ran race, and I had a good time at that one also.
And what is your personal best in a 5K, 10K, half marathon?
My personal best 5K is 15:39.
In the college time, yes?
Sorry?
In the college time?
I ran that maybe 3 years ago.
Wow.
10K was 33:29. My best half marathon officially is 1:14:47. However, at the Astana half last year in May, the race course I think was maybe 600 meters short. I ran that race in 1:11:08, I believe. And then my best marathon is 2:35:10.
Where?
That was in the U.S. in Connecticut.
Connecticut. Wow. And did you participate in any famous marathons in America, outside, like majors?
I've ran in 2 majors. My first major was the Boston Marathon. It's a very prestigious race in the U.S. Many amateur athletes use that as their primary goal. So after I'd ran my first marathon, I'd qualified for the Boston Marathon. So I was like, okay, I have to run this race. I don't know if I'll ever qualify again. Many people train for 15, 20 years and never qualify. So I have to go. Even though after finishing that first marathon, I had no desire to run another marathon. But I ran the Boston Marathon, which wonderful race. If you ever get a chance to run it, it's incredible atmosphere.
Was it before terror attack or after?
It was after the terror attack. The terror attack was in 2014. I ran it in 2016. So there was definitely very clearly an awareness, and it was definitely on people's minds. But it had enough of a gap for people to be
forget.
No, I wouldn't say forget, but to not be scared. And then I've also ran the New York City Marathon, which, as much as I like the Boston Marathon, I probably prefer the New York City Marathon. Because if you've ever had a chance to visit New York City, it's a very interesting city. It's not like the rest of America by any stretch, but it's very much a haven for international people, a lot of different international communities. So when you're running the marathon, you almost feel yourself in different ethnic areas as you're running along, as very definite different feels as you're kind of going through the race course.
I know that the start line is you need to travel to the outskirts, yes, of New York.
You have to go to Staten Island.
Yeah, and by
It's
boat, yes, or crossing the river.
There's a few different manners to get there. So they have a ferry that you can get across to it. They have bus transportation also, because it's an incredibly large race, 45,000 runners or something along those lines.
And the start line, the finish line, it's a different way.
So the start line is in Staten Island. Then it crosses the Brazo Narrows Bridge, which is an enormous bridge. And that by itself is an incredible portion of the race, because you're packed there shoulder to shoulder with thousands and thousands of other people running across this bridge. There's helicopters flying over. And if you look off to your left, you can see the Statue of Liberty. It's off in the distance, so you have to really know where to look for it. But incredible atmosphere at that point in the race.
What's the distance of a bridge?
I think it's about maybe 2 kilometers long. So it's a highway bridge, so it has a big rise and fall. So so the first part is just climbing up this massive bridge, and then on the downslope, you're just flying. You have all this energy and gravity taking you with it. So you have to really be very calculating to not overrun that very first part of that race. But yeah, very fascinating start, and then runs around Brooklyn. Then I don't know the other boroughs as well, but eventually kind of works its way back over to Manhattan, and then it kind of wraps around, finishing in Central Park.
Do you like New York?
No. I like smaller cities. New York is far too crowded. I really enjoyed the race, but I would never want to live in New York.
So I've heard that New York is not the United States. Like United States, and it's different. I mean, you need to go to some other places to see the real life in America, because I have never been in USA. So for me, it's kind of interesting how everything works. So
yeah.
And you said that you started from the college, yes, and maybe you know this NCAA league, yes.
Yep.
Can you tell me about a bit more about this? How everything works in a university level? Because in Kazakhstan we don't have any such experience to connect all the university, and maybe there is some competitions, but not so like structured and very well organized. So, and can you say about?
If I'm going to talk about university, I probably should start first with kind of high school level running. So you can start in middle school. So maybe when you're 12, 13 years old. But most people start high school age, so around 14. And then you just kind of walk on to your high school team, and you start training. You learn kind of the basics of running, the fundamentals. And then you kind of just start building up mileage and trying to build base speed. So most college athletes hopefully draw a love of the sport and kind of the fundamental, and realize they have some skill at the sport in their high school years.
So you have this competition between high school across the United States?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So in the United States, so there's cross country season and there's track season. Most cross country athletes will run cross country and track. So they'll do in high school, it's 5K is the primary distance on grass or dirt terrain. And they have like local competitions. Each school will tend to have a race course or something like that they hold their competitions on. And they, plus neighboring schools within their region or city, will compete against each other. And then they have a progressive nature to that. So they'll have like divisional, regional, like state level competitions. And then if you're top athlete, you might make it to like a national competition. So it's all kind of progressive in that way. And then once you graduate high school, there's various levels of college athletics also. So the most common ones are Division I, Division II, and Division III. So if you're a really top level high school athlete, you'll often be recruited to a university to be a collegiate runner there. So Division I will have the top best athletes, and then Division II, Division III as they kind of progress down. But just because you start off in like a D3 school doesn't mean you're not a very talented runner. Some people develop later, or maybe they didn't run with a top level high school or something. So once they go through competition on the collegiate level, it's a similar manner as on the high school level, but the 8K is the more common race distance for college athletes on cross country. Track season, most distance runners are going to be 800 or mile runners, basically. Some will go into the steeplechase, but steeplechase is primarily college. I don't know that any high school does the steeplechase. It's a little too dangerous of an event.
Maybe 2 weeks ago, it was like a news from NCAA competition indoor, 400 indoor, and some guy set a new world record in.
Oh wow!
Maybe I don't know. Do you know this news? But it was like in university level, you set a world record, so it was like mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Division I college athletes, especially for more specifically, you see it more often in the shorter distances, so 100, 200, 400. Many athletes are getting into their peak ability around college age. So many times you'll see Olympic athletes at some of these events, Olympic level athletes. And then once they do have a performance like that, they have a shot certainly at the Olympic trials, and then possibly even making the Olympic team then.
And your pathway was not like in a sport direction. So you were hired by university, not by any sport results, or?
Wait, sorry, what do you mean?
I mean, you were professional. I mean, kind of professional athlete, yes?
No.
No.
I'm amateur.
Oh. And
I have occasionally win money at races, but it's a small amount. I don't make a living doing it by any means.
Okay. So yeah, it's interesting how everything, how United States organizes. I mean, how they recruit the athletes, how athletes developing their skills, and how they perform.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe for Kazakhstan, it will be a good example. So can you say about your expectations when you come? I mean, when you first come to Kazakhstan, your very first expectations, and how does it matches with reality?
Honestly, I knew very little about Kazakhstan. Once I found out we were coming here, I tried to read up to kind of get a better idea of where we were going. I knew before learning these things, I knew Kazakhstan was like former Soviet Union. I knew it was a very large country. But outside of that, I knew very, very little.
It was in what year when you first come?
We came just over a year ago, January last year. So I mean, I honestly did not know what the capital was or anything like that. But then once I started reading up on it, I realized like Kazakhstan has this like very fascinating nomadic culture, and many aspects about Kazakhstan is very similar to the U.S., and I just found that extraordinarily fascinating. Because it's such a large country, you have various, different types of terrain. You have southeastern Kazakhstan where it's very mountainous, and then central northern Kazakhstan where it's got a lot of, the steppe. But in the U.S. we have what we call the Great Plains. The Great Plains are a little different because it's grassier, but we also have kind of what we call the West. And the West is very, very similar to much of Kazakhstan. And then Western Kazakhstan has very, very interesting geographic features as well that are that I hope to get out to. Just haven't had a chance to yet.
And what states you've been here in Kazakhstan? I mean, what cities did you visit so far?
So far, I've been to obviously Astana. I've been to Almaty and Turkestan are the main like city centers I've been to. Then I've also done some more local traveling, so up to Burabai. I will be soon going to Karaganda.
So it's
And
mostly about the competitions, or you just visit as a tourist?
I mean, Almaty and Turkestan were purely tourist. I would love to go race in some of those places, but
Mm.
the times we've gone, my wife and I have gone, have just been tourist.
Mm-hmm. How is Almaty for you?
It's a fascinating city. Did some hiking, very beautiful. Um, we're very outdoors oriented people, so having access to the mountains that near the city was a very unique experience for us. Um, being able to almost take a taxi to the mountains and then just go exploring was very, very neat. And then seeing some of the um, kind of the cultural centers, monuments, and
Mm.
just kind of the normal tourist sites of Almaty
Mm.
was just a neat experience. So I'm excited to go back down there again to get a more full view.
Yeah, because there is a competition. Maybe you heard Tengri. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's
I'm familiar. Yeah.
yeah, it's not in Almaty, like it's maybe 100 kilometers away from Almaty. So it's very like good competition, and there are multiple of racing routes. I mean, like 12 kilometers, 35 and 70. Maybe this year will be like 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it is located near to a river, Ili River.
Mm.
So it was like very famous from the ancient time. I mean, as a Kazakh people were nomadic, so they made this their home kind of near to this river, and it was like a cross point for different cultures. I mean, from China, from west to east, so many people come from this area. So
Mm.
yeah, and there is some petroglyph on the stones.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's from like maybe I'm not sure about how old these petroglyphs, but very old. So if you have a chance, go to visit this place, and it's held on 7th of May, I think.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, and so the price are going up for slots. So it's a good idea to enroll on
Yeah.
as early as possible. So and so what is your occupation? What's your specialty in university, and then
Like back in the U.S.
back in US and here?
Um, so um, so since my family moves a lot, my wife's career is the kind of the focal point of our lives. So prior to us being married, I was in paint and industrial coatings, sales and paint and industrial coatings. And then since we've been married, I find kind of whatever odd jobs I can make time for. So I've been a running shoe salesman before, and I'll be working on our embassy post shortly as well. So just various kind of odd jobs when I can.
And here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're working here as
I am not currently, but
oh,
I will be in the future.
okay. So are you going to participate in any events in near future here in Kazakhstan?
So I'm currently scheduled for the Almaty half.
In April.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been in the last year. You didn't participate. Yeah?
No, last year I did
Mm.
not. So that's one reason I want to
Yeah.
try to run a different race that because I ran that Astana half last year and go to Almaty this year, kind of see what that race is about.
Yeah, this is very famous. I mean, it's the oldest one, half marathon in Almaty in April. and the route is very tricky. I mean, there is up and down, so
Yeah.
you need to be very prepared.
Yeah.
Because in Astana, it's very hard to find these places where you can go up or down. So it's like very plain terrain. So, and if you if you if you want to know, we practicing these ups and downs on the bridge.
Ah, okay. That's the one thing I've noticed around Astana is it's challenging to do hill training.
Yeah. Actually, it was an idea of our coach, and he practicing a lot. He was like a professional runner from Astana, and the bridges, there are multiple for bridges, and
Yeah.
it's a good tool to practice, but maybe not so like natural. But still, you can strengthen your heel and legs. So, do you have questions, guys, outside of miles, kilometers? You are from America, where a lot of
Like, how does my brain kind of calculate that difference?
So-
So fortunately, America is interesting because, like, nominally we use miles for everything, but when you get down to it, when we're learning science, everything's in the metric system, as well as running. Running and rowing are both very, very international sports, and all of their distances are kilometers. I do still struggle with like how fast I should be running one individual kilometer, but when it's when it's a broad enough distance, so if it's 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers, my brain can transfer that knowledge a little bit more easily. But yeah, it can be a challenge when running with a group of local Kazakh people, and they'll say we're trying to run a 3:30 pace or something like that, and my brain has to kind of slowly chunk around because I usually will say, okay, 3:30, multiply that by 5, and then divide that by 3, and then I get close to what I'm supposed to be running.
Yeah. And mile, what's your personal best on 1 mile?
My personal best on a mile is a 4:50, which I've only done a couple of times, so I do not. I've never trained for a mile. It's just been in the middle of training. I'm like, oh, let's see how it goes.
It was indoor or outdoor?
It was outdoor, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What do you prefer, indoor or outdoor?
I hate indoor treadmills. I hate indoor running. I hate. So I will run outdoor any given opportunity. The only time that, like in Astana in particular, the only thing that prevents me from running outside is the air quality. If the air quality drops, then I'll run inside.
So in terms of training session, I mean, what do you prefer to run as much as possible in terms of mileage? I mean, it's you're pushing mileage, or you are trying to get to like smart training to get some I mean fitness to get some fitness level and some like fine tuning exercises. So what do you prefer?
So training wise, the more miles, the better. However, I have quite like an extensive just overuse running injury history. So unfortunately, a lot of my time in Kazakhstan has been either injured or kind of quasi-injured. So I do a lot of cross training. So I have an indoor rower. I use my indoor rower a lot. Cycling is great.
Concept 2 or what?
Yeah, Concept 2.
Wow, this one is very good. I like it.
Yeah, it's a very highly recommend the machine. The machine I have had, I bought used.
Here.
No, years ago. I bought it used while I was still a competitive rower. So I've had my machine for 20 years, and I bought it used. So that machine is probably at least 25 years old and is still working just fine with very minimal maintenance. So very good investment if that's like a thing that you're
Can
willing
you
to.
say some words about why it's so good? I mean, in terms of how your body works.
So there's two very distinct advantages to it. Rowing, similar to cross-country skiing, requires a very, very high aerobic load. So rowers have a very high VO2 max, so you get very strong lungs, heart from it. And then additionally, there's no impact to it. Like running, my injuries are generally with my shins, so I get shin splints, and that can slowly morph into stress fractures. So since it's such low impact, there's no actually like pounding on the ground. Much like swimming, it's just very easy on your body to acquire a lot of volume with rowing without the stress that comes along with running.
There is a conversion, I mean, between how much are you rowing and how much you are running. I mean, conversion coefficient, or how you. I mean, in cycling, there is like if you are cycling like 60 kilometers, it is more or less like you are running 20 kilometers. There is like you can compare your volume. I mean, but is there any such thing in rowing?
With rowing, I would guess it's a very close to a 1-to-1 ratio.
Oh, really?
So like running, like my high speed, I like running. I tend to do faster than rowing if I'm trying to compete at a high level. Rowing, I can sustain so say I run an 8-minute mile pace. Rowing, I can maintain a 7-minute mile pace very easily, but I can run a 5-minute mile pace without too much trouble. But a 5-minute mile pace with rowing would be very, very challenging. So it's like kind of just, so running is like a broader spectrum, whereas rowing tends to stay more in the middle.
What indicators? I mean, time. Yes, you can calculate your time, and what else? Heart rate. What is indicators in rowing?
I mean, sometimes I'll use a heart rate monitor. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
I have become very practiced at using perceived effort. When I was training for rowing, we always use perceived effort. So if you feel like you can maintain a conversation, you're going in zone 1 or zone 2. So primarily aerobic. If you struggle to have a conversation or say more than a word or two at a time, you're reaching into more zone 3, zone 4, maybe even zone 5.
I remember it was like a graph. I mean, in your monitor, it depicts this the very good how to say technique.
Oh, your power chart. Yeah.
When it's peak and when it's smooth, like a very good parabola. So it's like you're perfect in your technique, in terms of your technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's easy to lost some energy, some efforts when you are doing it not in the right way.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a very competitive rower, you want it to start pretty high on the parabola, because when you're moving a rowing shell, you're trying to aggressively accelerate the boat at the most powerful part of your stroke, which is going to be your legs. And then, so it'll kick up very quickly. And then your goal is to make it a smooth decline down. But some people will have a distinct drop and then kind of gradually move out. And that's usually a disconnect between when you're transitioning from your legs through your body swing. A lot of people will, what we call shoot the slide. So pressing down the legs, and then there's like almost a pause, and then you swing your back open. You don't want to do that.
How do you do like this in this way or like this way?
You want to finish like kind of right under your nipples, basically. Like if you're a female, right at your bra strap, basically.
Because I've seen that many some guys are doing like the pulling like very high, and so maybe in terms of muscles, some way muscles are not working, some way muscles working.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in terms of how your body reacts to this training, it's like your body fully worked. I mean,
Oh
yes.
yeah. I mean, your legs are your biggest
Yeah.
contributor, but you have to have a lot of core strength. Your back is very heavily used, and then it's not supposed to be a key part of your stroke, but ultimately you pull in, so you're using your arms as well. So yeah, you use pretty much everything. The only like downside is it doesn't really use your calves, and running is extraordinarily important to have very strong calves. So I have to pay special attention to that and make sure I'm additionally strengthening my calves.
So what's the average mileage per week in running?
Right now,
in a winter time, summer
right
time?
now I'm only running maybe 15, 20 miles a week. When I'm healthy and training is going well, I will run 70, 75 miles in a week. But that's usually for a shorter period of time in the build up to a marathon or something. If ideally I would run closer to 100, but I have this injury history that kind of limits me in that way a little bit. I'm hoping to I've been doing PT, physical training exercises to try to strengthen my imbalances so I don't get injured as easily. So hopefully I'll reach beyond that, but it's tend to peak at about 75.
So what is your favorite in terms of intervals? I mean, not long run, but some the workout that you push.
My favorite are long intervals. The longer, the better. So a common workout I've done in the past is mile repeats or 2 mile repeats.
2 mile repeats.
Yeah. I usually do either of those when I'm a little further along in training. Because when I do mile repeats, it tends to be 4 to 5 intervals. And it tends to be the whole workout tends to be close to a half marathon. So I have to have a lot of volume on my legs already for my body to accept that training load.
And about cross training, do you use bicycle cycling?
Yeah.
And skiing?
Skiing a little bit, yeah. Where I have lived in the U.S., skiing is rarely an opportunity. So that's one of the benefits that we've had here is Central Park has been a great place to go skiing, but we've also traveled outside the city to various other spots that have been wonderful. Shushinsk and Akol, both are very nice. I prefer to be out in the woods, so Central Park gets a little boring because you're just kind of going around on the track, it feels, whereas Akol and Shushinsk, it's very much feels like you're in wilderness and much nicer atmosphere.
So what do you prefer, skating or classic?
I have never learned how to do ski, so I only do classic.
Well, yeah, it's similar to running. I mean,
yeah. So the training-wise, the motion is probably a little more applicable, but skiing, I can't speak to it directly because I'm not good at it, but training load-wise, like works your heart and your lungs. Those are your two most important things for running, then followed, I think, by your legs.
There is a ski club in Central Park, one of the largest, club, yes, and you can join them if you want. In summertime, they use this roller.
The roller skis,
skis, yeah. Yeah, and there is like competition between us in terms of space in Central Park. Yes, because there is a tartan. Maybe you've seen this in Central Park. Tartan.
Are you talking the rubberized track?
Yeah, and the road. Asphalt. So they mostly use asphalt, but sometimes we need to switch to asphalt, and there is some. dangerous situations, but it's okay. We are friends with them, so we
Yeah.
know each other very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sorry to interrupt, but
okay.
that has been one thing that has kind of occurred to me as like one of the things I do not like about running in the city of Astana is that many paths are laid with brick, and brick is very, very firm. So for training to build miles, it's very hard on the body. So like I try to find the asphalt paths also.
Yeah. In most of the parks, there is tartan. I mean, this rubber.
Yeah, so either those are preferred as well. So like the triathlon park is great, Botanical Gardens, and then Central Park, obviously.
Because in Almaty there is no such park with a tartan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're using this asphalt, but it's a kind of injury for your legs, and I mean, in a long term, it may hurt you. And every time when I have a choice between tartan and asphalt, I go to tartan. Yes, even for long run, I can go run like 2-3 hours, not 3 but 2 hours on tartan. So, but and there is Die Hard. Maybe you heard these guys who are running every Sunday at 8 o'clock. It's like Die Hard, maybe. Yeah, and they're running on a river.
Yeah,
along river. So for me, it's like not so natural because this is surface. It's not so good for your legs, and I don't prefer to go. But the community is very large, and there are a lot of good people, and you can.
I have ran with them before, and they do seem like they were very welcoming and a very good group.
Yes. So what are you planning? I mean, for this year in terms of sport results, in terms of competitions, or
like my goals?
Yes.
So Almaty half. I don't have any strong goals because my training has been so-so. I hope to at least be under an hour and 20 minutes. That's kind of my standard for. I'm running okay at least. I'd prefer to be faster, but I don't know where my fitness will be. My long-term like full goal is to break 2 hours and 30 minutes on the marathon.
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
So I'm racing in Berlin. So hopefully there.
Are you already enrolled?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because there are many people from Kazakhstan. I'm every time going there, this place, and I've heard this is very like plain, and you can set your personal best easily. Not easily, but okay.
It is known for being a very fast course, and then of course, as with all the world marathon majors, fantastic atmosphere, very supportive crowd. So it's very exciting.
And in terms of majors, are you fond of this collecting medals from different marathons? I mean, majors, 6 majors?
It was not initially a goal of mine, but since I had qualified for an automatic entry into Berlin,
you have Boston, New York, yes.
So I have 2 out of the 6 currently, and then this will be the 3rd, and then I only have 1 more in the U.S., London, and Tokyo afterwards. So Tokyo would be by far the most challenging for me to get to, but it's a very far travel from the U.S. So.
But if you are here, it's not so far away.
Well, we will, but I'm only here temporarily, so I won't be here long years, unfortunately.
And Tokyo is very. I mean, it was held like maybe 2 weeks ago, and even from our club, some guy he traveled to Tokyo, and it's interesting because he didn't have some pre-training session. I mean, intervals. It was like just running, jogging, and he didn't expect to run fast.
Yeah.
But his initial goal was go sub 3, and but he realized that it wouldn't happen. So he decided just to run and enjoy. But at some point, even when he was in Tokyo, some guys said them that, oh, why you are running just for enjoyment? So
Yeah.
he decided to push, and he maybe 6 minutes he didn't. It was not enough to go beyond. I mean, to go up. Oh, sorry.
So he ran like a 3 hours and 6 minutes or something?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, 6 minutes. Yes, he was like very surprised because he didn't had any training session. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I have found when you run for the enjoyment of running as opposed to being so specifically locked into like a goal or something, sometimes you run better than you expect.
Yeah.
Because you're having fun, and you run well when you're having fun.
Yeah. Because your mind is empty, your head is empty. You don't have any expectations and just enjoyment. So
you're not so focused on the pain. You're focused on your mind is positive, and when you're positive, good things happen.
Yeah. What about triathlon? Have you tried triathlon?
I have done one triathlon in my life. I am a terrible swimmer. But I have done one sprint distance triathlon before. So I think I think out of, I don't know, maybe 150 people, I think I was the 5th slowest swimmer or something. And then somewhere towards the top in the biking, and then easily the fastest runner in that triathlon. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, recently it was very popular in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Because it was like Astana Ironman 70.3 and the full distance. But this year, unfortunately, it will not happen.
Yeah.
And but
it's not happening at all now. We heard that I had heard that they had lost their main sponsor, but I did not know that it was
they
actually
decided
canceled.
not to continue this sponsorship. Yeah. Because many people who wanted to make an Ironman, they already did it. So and there is no any reason to.
So the incentive was lost, unfortunately, it sounds.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
But still, there are clubs. In our podcast, there will be Sergey Vasilievich Bondarenko. He is a head coach of SV Trim, and maybe 70 participants in this club for triathlon club. I mean. So according to this information, triathlon is alive.
Yeah, well, and my wife and I have found the Astana Triathlon Federation has a number of kind of small, accessible races, and we very much enjoy their competitions. They seem to do a very good job managing the races, and I mean, obviously making them accessible, and especially for kind of just intermediate races in between the major races. It's lower stress and kind of a great way to kind of identify how your training is coming along. So yeah, fantastic little races.
Yeah. And there is a very famous, very popular place in Burabai. It's for standard distance in triathlon. It's awesome race. Many people like it, and if you have a chance someday, it's maybe in summer, but still, if you don't a good swimmer, it's a good idea just to participate. Yeah, and your wife is running as well, yes?
Yeah, she's a very avid runner. She focuses on very, very long distances. And her running career has been very fascinating because she will run in very cold places. She'll run very long distances.
Ultramarathon or what?
Yeah, ultra marathons. She's done the Comrades Marathon in South Africa. She has also done.
It's up or down. There is a.
She did the down year.
Down.
Which she swears is probably the more difficult because if you're aware, running downhill is very, very tough on your quads. And after
What's the
50,
elevation?
58 miles, I think it is. What is that? 90, 95 kilometers or something, I think was the distance she had to run. There's enough like still uphills where you feel every bit of the downhills on the little uphills, and then of course you have the extra distance. The downhill years are, I think, 2 or 3 miles longer than the uphills up years. So very very interestingly difficult.
What's the difference between highest point and the lowest point? What's the elevation?
I don't recall. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't recall.
So, are you? She was alone or with you? And this?
No, we were not
Okay.
together at this point. This was a number of years ago. But she's also run a race at the North Pole. She's ran a race in Antarctica. She's raced a marathon in all continents except for South America.
Yeah, unfortunately, she couldn't join us today.
Yeah.
Yes, because as you said, maybe she will join us.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
So because it's very interesting to talk someone who is running ultra marathons, because we had Sandeep. He's ultra marathoner. I mean, professional runner from India.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very very good experience to talk to him. So, and your wife as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, she has some interesting
because
stories.
in terms of psychology, mind, for me it's very interesting how does it work in your mind, because for a long time running is challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have Beirut, so kind of Beirut part when we asking about your top 3 books, top 3
running books?
not running,
or just books in general?
In general, yeah. Let's start with the top 3 books.
Oh, that's a good question.
Are you good? I love to read.
Yeah, I'm an avid reader. So like a lot of times when I'm on an exercise bike, I take a book with me. And when I go to bed at night, I tend to read. Now picking out my favorite books.
Okay, maybe a recent book.
Well, I would say one of my favorite books is Fahrenheit 451.
Wow.
By Ray Bradbury. And then one of my favorite books recently, let me think. I like Stephen King, but for a different reason. But not his horror genre, more his like, I don't know. He has some that are just kind of thriller type books, but not like horror. Oh man, you needed to give me some time on that one. The World According to Garp is, I think, a very fascinating book by John Irving.
Have you read some Russian books? I mean, Dostoevsky is very popular.
I've not read any of the famous authors. I have read a couple of Russian books. So what was it? I think it translates to "we" in English. It's by Yevgeny. I forget his last name.
Zamyatin, I think. Мы. It's like Orwell or some kind of.
It's like a dystopian. Not dystopian isn't quite the right word, but it's like a future.
Yeah.
Have you read A Brave New World?
No.
Okay. It's a similar genre to A Brave New World, as well as sort of like 1984. George Orwell.
Orwell, yes.
Yeah. Both of those books I thoroughly enjoy as well. And then what was it? I forget who the author was, but it's called The Blizzard. Very strange book.
And in terms of movies, top 3 movies.
Top 3 movies.
Or sitcoms.
My favorite, I generally say Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie. Everyone, I think, likes a good redemption story. As well as Interstellar is one of my favorites. And and then of course the Star Wars series. The original 3 is my favorite, but as far as like movies that have come out since then, I thought Rogue One is my probably my favorite Star Wars movie.
And have you watched Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer, yes, I did watch that. Interesting movie, yeah.
Yeah, this movie won 6 Oscars, I think.
Yeah,
6.
and it was well done. So yeah, very interesting time in world history as well.
Yeah. So it's time to finish, and I wish we could make some podcast in future, maybe 2 months. So with your wife, and if she will join us. So
Yeah,
yeah, today was a very good conversation with you, and maybe I didn't cover some questions that I should cover, but maybe next time. So
sure.
okay, bye. Maybe some words to our audience, our followers.
Uh, I'm terrible at speaking to people. um, I guess if you just keep getting out there, run as much as you want, enjoy the sport. Don't get so caught up in the goals. Goals are good to have, but first and foremost, enjoy running.
Yeah, I agree. And subscribe, leave a comment, and okay, see us in a future podcast. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Greg.
thanks.